to this video on how I live on a $4,000 monthly salary in Singapore. I will be sharing what I earn, what's in my budget and why, what I do with my savings, and how I track my income, expenses, and savings. Before we dive into the numbers, I want to highlight a few things to set some context. I am a 29-year-old full-time salaried worker for about 6 years now, and my day job is my main source of income. I live with my husband in a 3-room housing development board flat, and we split the cost of shared expenses such as food, leisure, household items, and services. Other than that, we manage our money separately, meaning that we do not have any combined accounts. Any expenses paid through my Central Provident Fund account, such as housing loan and medical insurance, are not included in this video. And lastly, I am on a journey to achieve financial freedom, so I try to minimize my spending and maximize my savings every month. If you haven't, you can catch my channel introduction video, which explains why I am chasing after financial freedom. So with this in mind, let's get into the numbers. So as I earlier mentioned, my day job is my main source of income and the only source that I draw from for my living expenses. My monthly take-home pay is currently at $4,065.12. This is the amount that is credited into my bank account after deductions for CPF contributions and donations through my employer. My yearly 2023 take-home pay, including any bonuses, is estimated to be between $60,000 to $65,000. My budget consists of two broad categories: monthly expenses, which are my regular expenses that recur every month, such as food and transport, and yearly expenses, which are my sporadic expenses that do not recur every month, but will be expensed at different timings throughout the year, such as vacations and yearly insurance payments. So I have 7 types of recurring expenses within my monthly budget. First is my income tax. I opted for the interest-free installment plan, so I pay $142.11 on a monthly basis. Next item is allowance for my parents. I give them $400 every month. My parents are semi-retired and they don't depend solely on this income for a living. It's just a gesture on my part ever since I started earning an income to thank them for raising me. Also, my dad has been paying for our family's phone plans since we were kids and still wants to pay for them, so I count this expense for my mobile plan, which is about $20 per month, under this category. Food, $300 for groceries and eating out. This includes my share of the food expenditure with my husband, as well as my own food expenses, which would include what I spend with my friends and colleagues. As much as possible, I always try to make my own meals at home and minimize dining out. $100 for personal care. This includes skincare, hair products, and vitamin supplements. About every month, I make a purchase to replace the products that are running low in supply or just take advantage of seasonal sales to stock up while they are selling at a discount. $90 for household. So this includes things like service and conservancy charges, property tax, utilities, and miscellaneous household items and services, such as Wi-Fi. Again, this is my share of the household expenses and does not include my husband's share. $60 for transport. This includes the cost of commuting to my company's office about 3 times a week and outside of my neighborhood if I venture out on the weekends. I mostly use public transportation except for special circumstances. Lastly, $100 for anything fun. This includes leisure that costs money, such as a movie or event tickets, and things that I want but do not need. This is something new that I included this year. On this journey to achieve financial freedom, it's very easy to become caught up in a game of cutting my expenses to increase my savings rate. So at one point, I found myself being very unwilling to spend on anything that wasn't necessary and feeling very guilty when I did so. So this fund is included as part of my monthly budget to give myself a little leeway. It also serves as a reminder to enjoy life as I work towards my goal of financial freedom, because we just never know what might happen tomorrow. So all in all, my monthly budget for monthly regular expenses is $1,192.11. For my yearly sporadic expenses, I have 6 subcategories of expenses. First is a payment of $1,120 every year from my term life insurance policy. So some companies offer you the option to pay for your premiums annually, and in return, you pay a lower premium. So I opted for this annual payment plan. I want to take at least 2 trips per year, one long and one short. My budget is 2,000 for the long trip and 500 for the short trip. When it comes to travel, my principle is to spend as little on transport such as plane tickets and accommodation as possible, while balancing the need for comfort and to spend more on food and experiences. $530 for Chinese New Year rate packets. 2023 was the first year that I gave out rate packets since getting married. $400 for gifts for family, friends, and colleagues. This amount can be tapped on for gifts or treats for special occasions such as birthdays, weddings, and family gatherings. And lastly, $150 for miscellaneous items. This is for essential items that do not fall under the above categories. However, this is not for any essential big ticket items which typically do not come out every year and for which I have a separate fund. So all in all, my yearly budget for yearly sporadic expenses adds up to $4,700. Taken together, my total budget for the year is $19,005.32. I review my budget annually to take into consideration any changes to my life circumstances, lifestyle, or life stage that might affect my expenses. Apart from my monthly and yearly budget, I have 2 funds for other expenses. The first one is my emergency fund, which amounts to about $10,000. This is purely for emergency situations such as a job loss, and it is sufficient to cover my monthly expenses for up to at least 6 months, as well as any non-negotiable yearly expenses such as my life insurance policy. The next fund is the big ticket item fund for the purchase, repair, or replacement of essential big ticket items such as a laptop, mobile phone, fridge, washing machine, etc. This is something that I recently started building as I noticed that my phone and laptop purchased in 2018 and 2019 respectively are increasingly suffering from glitches. I am trying to build up at least $2,500 in this fund for such expenses. But just a note that this fund is not for big projects or events such as a wedding or a home renovation. For such large-scale projects and events, I usually save for it under a separate fund. At this point in my life, I don't anticipate any big projects or events in the next 2 years. Every month after getting my pay, I keep only the amount that I need to spend monthly plus any yearly expenses that I foresee would be expensed in that month and withdraw the rest as savings. So on a typical month, if there are no bonuses received and no yearly expenses incurred in that month, which means that month only has my monthly regular expenses, I will have about $2,873.01 in savings. And in 2023, I estimate to save $40,994.68. So where do my savings go? In a typical month with no bonuses and no sporadic expenses, which means that I have about $2,800 in savings, my money will be allocated as follows. First is my endowment policy. I pay $98.94 monthly. This is a term plan of 25 years that offers protection and has a savings element. This was a policy that I bought when I was 18 and didn't know any better. I happened to walk past a booth set up by an insurance company at a mall and was intercepted by the salesperson. So long story short, I walked away with a deposit paid for this policy. Though there was a free look period and I could cancel without penalty, I saw the benefit of having some protection while I was still in school, and I was able to pay for it with the money from my vacation job stand. But in hindsight, my only regret was not choosing a shorter term plan so that I could cash out when it expires and get a pure protection policy when I started working full time. The protection on this endowment plan is insufficient for my needs as a working adult, and I had to get another life insurance policy while still paying for this endowment plan. In addition, the return from this endowment plan is also less from the return from the stock market in the long term. So even though the money I put towards this policy is technically savings, there is some opportunity cost here as I am missing out on better returns with this money. Next, $1,000 of my savings goes into my long-term investment account. $1,300 goes to my trading account. This year, my goal is to build up my trading account, so I allocate a bit more towards my trading account than my investment account. Lastly, $474.07 goes into my high-interest savings account, which contains my emergency fund and big-ticket item fund. I am currently short of my ideal amount for both funds, which is 12,500 in total. So I am putting some of my savings towards this account until I hit that amount, after which this portion of savings will likely go towards my investment and trading accounts. Planning out a budget and savings plan is only one part of the process. Tracking is the other equally important aspect, as it allows me to check whether I am aligned with my plan and to identify and avoid possible overspending. So I do this with a simple Excel sheet where I have one tab for an overview of my income, expenses, and savings for each month and year, and 12 other tabs for keying in the day-to-day expenses within each month. So the Overview tab captures everything in one glance. At the top of the Overview tab is the Income Sources segment. I only have one source of income, which is my day job that I use for my living expenses, so I only have one item under this category. The white cells are for me to key in every month after I receive my salary. The next segment is my budget for my monthly regular expenses. On the left-hand side, I indicated my budget for each subcategory of expense, and the white cells are for me to key in the actual monthly expenses. The beige cells have a formula to add up the total monthly expenditure, and the yellow cell on the right-hand side adds up all 12 months of expenditure. Similarly, for my yearly expenses segment, the left-hand side indicates my budget for each subcategory, and the white cells are for me to key in the expenses in the month that they occur. The beige cells on the right-hand side have a formula to add up the total expenditure for each subcategory, and the yellow cell adds up the expenditure across all the subcategories. And lastly, the savings segment lists the various places that I plan for my savings to go towards every time after I receive my salary. The white cells are for me to indicate the amount that goes towards each account every month. The beige cells add up the total contribution to each account. The dark blue cells indicate the total income, total expenditure, and total savings for the year. I also have a separate table at the bottom to track if any money from my emergency fund and big ticket item fund is utilized during the year. The Overview tab is something that I update at the end of every month or as and when a sporadic expense takes place. On the other hand, the monthly tabs are updated almost daily. For every expense, I key in the amount under the relevant category and include remarks on where I spent that money. So for instance, if I spent $20 on groceries on 1st of August, I will key in $20 under food for 1st August and write down groceries under the remarks column. If I have more than one expenditure in that category on that day, I will use the sum formula to add the expenses together and add on to the remarks section accordingly. This may sound very tedious, but my reason for doing this is because it allows me to keep track of how much I am spending for each category and on what I am spending my money on. It allows me to analyze my spending behavior and identify what I need to change so that I do not burst my budget for the month. For instance, if I see my food budget go down by more than half in the first 2 weeks of August, and I look at the remarks column and notice that I have been spending a lot on eating out, probably because it's been a couple of very busy weeks at work, then I know that I need to make changes in the last 2 weeks of the month so that I do not burst my budget. Perhaps I will look into eating at home more often or maybe meal prepping so that I can spend less on eating out. So overall, this is my way of tracking. If you're interested to reference this, you can download this template using the link in the description box. This is a very simple spreadsheet without any complicated formulas or charts. You can use this as a base and create a spreadsheet that works for you. If you're interested in formulas and charts, you can add them into your own spreadsheet. If you're not into spreadsheets, I know that there are budgeting apps out there that you can explore, though I have not used any of them personally to be able to comment. I hope this video has been helpful in some way in terms of planning your own finances. I want to end off by saying that everyone's income, budget, and savings plan will look different because our life circumstances, life stages, lifestyles, needs and wants, and what we value out of life are all different. So consider what you need, what you want, what your money goals are, and plan your budget and savings according to your income. Thank you for watching until the end of this video, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye!